I'm hoping Eve's gonna show up. I messaged her, so hopefully, she got the message.
Okay. Well, I guess we'll
Yeah,
find out.
yeah, we'll find out soon enough. Hello, everybody. How's it going? Welcome to Nerd Chat Central. Sorry, we've been a little absent for the past couple of weeks, but technological issues. Tonight, I am joined by Wayne Burns, a personal friend of mine who has been making quite a splash in the entertainment scene recently.
A little bit, I guess, maybe.
Wayne, why don't you introduce yourself?
Hello, everyone. My name is Wayne Burns. I met Zach because we're from the same hometown, Toronto, Nova Scotia. The reason that Zach wanted to talk to me tonight, I'm gonna already say I have two cats that are in my apartment, and I get a little bit excited sometimes.
Oh,
Back on track. Yeah, so Zach asked me to speak tonight because I'm one of the main characters on Sci-Fi's new show. Pardon me, Olympus, which is airing in Canada and the States on Super Channel in Canada, Sci-Fi in the States, and it's also airing in Germany, Ireland, and Britain. And yeah, so that's kind of the big thing that's happening in my life right now.
wow. Yeah, I knew it was airing in the U.S. and Canada and Britain because you tweeted about that. What was it, last night?
Yeah, or a couple nights ago, I think.
Yeah, yeah. No, that's awesome that it's getting shown in so many different countries.
Yeah, it's really neat. So, and it's expanded to Germany and Ireland, I guess. Yeah,
It's awesome.
yeah.
So, um, yeah, I was reading a little bit about the show, and it sounds really cool. I mean, I'm looking at it right here on the Sci-Fi website. Story of how a brave few men and women banish the gods to the realms of the unconscious, or Hades.
hmm
That sounds like an interesting take on things.
Yeah, I think. I mean, Nick really wanted to talk about kind of the. I feel like I'm gonna butcher the way that he talks about it because he's such a psychology major, so he has like all of these concepts. But essentially, what it is that it is this Greek mythology. It is the myths that we kind of like know and love, but he kind of takes a more psychological approach to it. So he's dealing with these archetypes that have more or less kind of formed our society, you know? So the characters are very much kind of correlating with the myths, obviously, but the myths are.
They're taking a back seat to the people.
I mean, no, in a sense of like, there was, if I can pull it up, he had this really great way of describing it. I just feel like I want it to be like more
Yeah,
of
I
a,
want to do it justice.
yeah. Um, anyway, you can totally ask me something while I'm looking for this.
All right, cool. So, when did you first hear about auditions for Olympus?
Um, I guess it was last year. I was here in Toronto. I moved to Toronto back in May, and I was working as a dishwasher here at just like a local restaurant. And my agent, who I had signed with, she sent me the breakdown, which is essentially when they're casting for a role, they send a breakdown to agents, and then those agents kind of put them out across their clients. And so she sent me the breakdown for Lycos, which is the character I play in Olympus, and fell in love with the role kind of immediately. He's just a really dynamic, very like really, really interesting guy. And so I worked over the weekend for that, auditioned for the part, sent in my self-tape, ended up booking it off of a self-tape, which is a very rare occurrence in the industry. I mean, unless you're like really big, I guess. And, yeah, so that was, and so my life kind of changed in a matter of like 3 or 4 days. Because after my self-tape, the next day, the director had contacted me and was like, "We're offering you the role." And he kind of gave me the whole story of what Lycos's journey was throughout the series, and yeah, it was incredible. It was very whirlwind kind of time.
Yeah, no, it's definitely sounds like a drastic switch going from quote unquote normal everyday life to, hey, now I'm on this TV show.
Yeah, exactly. It was wild to kind of just like, yeah, I was literally dishwashing, and then 4 days later, I'm in Vancouver, and a week after I arrived, I was on set shooting. So
Wow.
it was a very, very fast turnaround. Yeah.
Have all the episodes been filmed already, or is it kind of like release a certain batch number and then go for the next one?
No, so we shot them all between July 14th and November 4th of last year.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
what? Go ahead.
I was just gonna say the logistics of like what I like some shows they do it like film a certain number and then like release those, then film more, and then others it's just the whole thing. Boom, here you go.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think with
Like Netflix a little bit.
with depending on the show, I think that there's different ways. For us, it was most efficient to kind of like get it all done in one thing. Now, what is happening is that like Nick and our editors and the animators and everything are still kind of working on the episodes, so they have all of the like stock footage essentially, but they are still kind of editing the process. I think Nick said that he's going to be editing until, yeah, I think he's only on episode 6 right now, but he's still editing. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But I mean, so they're released as they're being finished.
Yeah, definitely. So tell us a little bit about your character. You said Lycos?
Yeah. Lycos is he's the Prince of Athens. So he's the King Aegeus and Queen Medea are his parents. And as far as he knows, he's the only heir to the throne. But what we find out kind of in the second episode is that Hero is actually the first son of Aegeus. And so there's that kind of going on.
Yeah.
But everyone in the palace, everyone in the kingdom thinks that Lycos is the heir to the throne. He is the firstborn son. So he is the rightful heir because he's in the kingdom.
Right.
Hero kind of embarks on this journey to find his past. And part of his past is reconnecting with his biological father, which is the king of Athens. As well. So we are brothers, but we don't know each other at all yet. The other big aspect of Lycos is that with the firstborns in Athens, all of the firstborns are passed down this kind of magical source, which is called the lexicon. And so Medea, who's my mom, is the world's like most powerful sorceress, and she's trying to solve the riddle of the lexicon. So by having a son with Aegeus, what's supposed to happen is he's supposed to pass down the lexicon to me.
Okay.
He has a son, so I'm believed to have the lexicon, and so Medea, my whole life, has been kind of trying to solve this riddle of the lexicon from me, but I don't have it. So it's been very frustrating on her part until she finds out that there is a son that happens before me. So yeah. I mean, it's very complicated, but
no, it sounds a little bit more than complicated.
Yeah.
Now, I did see a couple of screenshots from the first episode where, correct me if I'm wrong, you are strapped to a table and she's drawing blood?
Yeah. So it's this process called bloodletting. And so essentially the process is that as she cuts me and I'm bleeding into kind of like this like dish, she's supposed to ask me what I see, like what my visions are, what my dreams are, and then the blood is supposed to kind of manipulate and change to represent what those dreams are. And that's not happening. So she gets frustrated.
It's not exactly going her way.
Yeah, no.
So, like, you went to the National Film School.
I went to the National Theatre School, actually, yeah.
Yeah, theater school, right, in Montreal?
Mm-hmm.
How long was your course for that?
So the program is 3 years long. It was the acting program, National Theatre School of Canada. It's in Montreal, yes. Yeah, so I just graduated actually in May of last year.
Oh,
So
wow. Okay.
coming up on a year being out of school.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Well, it definitely sounds like they prepared you well for the role.
Yeah, I mean, like it's funny because I mean I went to a theater school, and then like the first kind of big project that I get outside of school is a film project. But I think I had done quite a bit of film work before going to school and then during school, and so I wasn't kind of graduating without any film experience at all. So even though it was adjusting, the set of Olympus was very different than anything that I'd ever worked on before. It was still I was still kind of going in there knowing at least somewhat of what I was doing.
Yeah.
But the school prepared me in a lot of ways. For it set me up really well for kind of where I'm choosing to go and do what with this career. Yeah, it's a fantastic place.
Oh, sounds like it. You see, guys, if you have a dream and you really dedicate yourself to it, you can make big things happen. And sometimes they happen quick.
Sometimes when you least expect them.
Exactly. You could
But
be
that's not
watching
prepared.
and then your agent calls, oh, you have an audition.
Exactly.
So, how big is the cast for the show? It looks kind of big from what I'm seeing right now.
I mean the main characters, like the series leads of the show, I guess there's about 7 of us.
Okay.
But as for like the cast, I think we had over like God, it was like 300 or something, like people involved, like just acting,
The
just
minor
like
characters, the extras.
stunt people, not even including the extras, just like stunt people, guest stars, like just yeah, like
Oh yeah, I think
it was a crazy amount of people.
yeah. Wow. Well, definitely sounded like a lot of a lot of really good work has gone into the show and involved a lot of people.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if you're familiar with Nick Willing's work before, but he did Tin Man with Zoe Deschanel and Alan Cumming back in 2008, and then he also did Neverland with Keira Knightley, and I think most recently was Alice, which is all of these are kind of like 2 or 3 part miniseries.
Yeah.
Those kind of very famous stories, so like Dorothy and like Alice in Wonderland and like and Peter Pan. And so this was a big epic for him to take on because it's a 13 part, right? So because it's a first season. And so it was a really big passion project for him. And he's just put so much time and effort into really planning out everything. Like I remember on set, like you showing me designs of all of the environments, and like he's really, really created this beautiful world, and these really, really well thought out, very very defined characters. And so it was kind of an honor to work with such a like mad genius in a sense, because you just everything is plotted out. He has an answer for everything. And so that was fantastic to work with as an actor, because although I was bringing things to the table, he had so much to provide for me as well that I could go back to the drawing board, and we really got to kind of create this person together, which is ideally the best relationship to have with the director.
Oh, absolutely. They have
Yeah.
a vision. You are like their tools to mold this character. And if you can get the two working cohesively, it turns out I'm guessing you can say just from hearing you now and from experience that it's the best possible thing that can happen.
Yes, totally.
Yeah.
Speaking of Nick Willing, I'm going to read you the part because I did find what
Okay.
about it. So they basically asked the same question that you asked me at the start, and this is what Nick has to say. So he was like, the Greeks understood what makes us tick, what drives human behavior. That's why their religion, what we now call mythology, is still one of the best ways to understand and describe the human psyche. Even the word psyche gets its name from the Greek god of soul, Psyche. So my thought was, can we take the Greek tragedies, the beginning of all modern drama, to explore who we are today? Can we describe greed, betrayal, love, cowardice, jealousy, all the universal emotions which drive us in the world of Sophocles, Aristotle, and Socrates? So I feel like that kind of gives it a better understanding of
Yeah.
what it is we represent.
Almost gives it like a poetic sense to it.
Yeah, so it's not so much. I mean, the show does obviously have like sex and violence and like swords and sandal kind of action, but it's
Yeah.
like rooted in psychology and kind of like human behavior. So
Yeah.
even though we do see like gods and monsters, it's more about kind of these people coming together and figuring out how we operate, you know?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I know the first time I actually heard about the show, and just now as you're saying, as like the sex, the violence, the fighting, I can almost like how similar would you compare it to like Game of Thrones? Does
Um,
do you feel it has the same kind of feel to it?
I think people are attempting to kind of brand it in the same way, but they're really different. I mean, they're both fantastical shows. They're both
Yeah,
kind of fantasy oriented, but they're two very different stories. And I mean, Game of Thrones obviously is based on a book series. You know, it's like based on a kind of piece of literature that has been intact. You know, that also started to gain a following before it was turned into a TV show. So
yeah,
it exists in a different world than Olympus does. I think Olympus is kind of, yes, it's based on mythology and these like very universal stories that we're very well acquainted with, but Nick is creating kind of his own mythology in this series. So I think to compare him to like J.R.R. Martin or like Tolkien or any of those things is more of a grander comparison.
mhm.
But I think they're not different because I think Nick is kind of forging his own mythology. I won't put words into his mouth, but yeah, I don't know. They are two very different, like they're very different shows though.
I,
So
de- I definitely like the style of like the set era of Greek mythology and by extension Game of Thrones and Olympus. It's,
right, I
it's
mean,
seems like a very powerful era. Would you
yeah,
agree with
yeah, I think so. I think as humans, we're very interested in what came before us. Do you know what I
yes?
mean? Like especially this kind of modern day, I think it's really interesting to see the drama that happened at that time. You know, to see how people dealt with things and I think it's so intriguing because you have such high emotions. There were such high stakes then. There's conspiracy, there's killing, there's like, I mean, there's killing today and there's conspiracy today, but like in a different context. You know what I mean? Like the fight for power is still prevalent today, but just different contexts. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I don't know, it's all the same problems. We're dealing with the
It's
same
the same
problems
problems in a different time.
in a different time, and so it seems more fantastical in that sense. And I think that's what kind of, it's still relatable, but there's still an area of fantasy around it. There's still an escapism around it, even though it's the same problems that we're dealing with. And maybe that's why people are comparing the two. But I look at shows like Vikings, and it's like Vikings, although stylistically might look like Game of Thrones, is a very different show because it's dealing with a different kind of population. Do you know what I
Right.
mean? So uh, Olympus, although there are comparisons, maybe, is a very different show because it's dealing with a different population of people. You know, it's
Yeah.
dealing with a different story. It's dealing with different things. So people will make the comparisons they want to make, but I think it stands alone as its own little individual show.
And that's good to not follow the same train as something else, but to uh, keep your own idea just that.
Yeah,
So then when it grows, you can see that, hey, like what we started, people are catching on to it, and now they're not associating it with that other show, but its own entity.
yeah, exactly. Because I mean, like when the pilot happened 3 weeks ago, people obviously made those comparisons, but I think now that it's kind of getting into its little, like it's kind of finding its footing a little bit, and we do have like a fan base reaching out, that fan base is reaching out for particular reasons, not because it's linked to Game of Thrones or it's comparative to Game of Thrones, because it's not. So the fans that we're starting to gain right now at this very early level in a series development are drawn to it because of the stylistic differences, because of the characters in this show versus that show. Do you know what I mean? And people can love
Yeah.
both, obviously, but like also the fact that Game of Thrones has been around for what, 5 years now. Like
Yeah.
there's obviously gonna be comparisons to it.
Yeah. No, one of the first things that I heard, like when you had meant, like when you had put on Facebook or Twitter or wherever it was that you were going to be on the show, the first thing that caught me, was kind of on the same level of just as you saying you're going to be in this show, was the title. Immediately as I saw Olympus, I thought Greek mythology. Yes, I want to see this.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see how many people are, it's like Xena was so big, as much as like,
Did
you know what I mean? Like,
you just drop the Xena name?
yeah, I did.
Good
It's like
stuff.
Xena was so massive, and like I
Oh
remember
my
I
gosh,
was
Xena
looking
was
up,
so big.
like people like Greek mythology, and I think it's part of
Mm.
us. I think that's what Nick is hitting on, is that it's like these myths were formed out of human need, out of like, they were created to satisfy us in some way. These myths were, and so I
Yeah,
think that this kind of humanity is drawn to Greek mythology in a sense. I mean, more so, like, some people are more than others, but Xena was massive, and like, I remember there was this like hilarious show, like Young Hercules with Ryan Gosling, and like it was a whole like Hercules period. Do you know what I mean? And
oh yeah.
I think there is something also in my research for the role. They were such a liberal people. Like Greek mythology and like Athenian ways they were very liberal. I mean, there was also a lot of like sexism and like that stuff going on, but in a sense, they were a very liberal kind of society. And so, I mean, my character, for example, who happens to be gay in the show, that's not looked down upon, in that time. The only reason that it kind of gets some sort of like resistance is because he's the heir to the throne, but his
Yeah.
lifestyle isn't looked down upon. Where, I think that's a powerful statement in itself. Where it's like they didn't care about that kind of stuff. They didn't care about, it was about people.
Yeah.
That's kind of reducing it, but yeah,
Same point is kind of still comes across.
yeah.
Yeah. So how much research did you do for this role? Because I know just from working with you, when you get a role or you go to audition, like you dive into that character. You look
Like,
stuff up continuously.
well, I am a researcher by nature, so I mean, I didn't have much time. I had a 2-day turnaround to audition. So I got it on Friday. I had to have it in by Monday afternoon. So I filmed it with a buddy of mine Sunday night, Monday morning. And so I had 2 days, but I was just like, as you said, like hitting the books hard, trying to just like really get myself into it. I mean, I do an accent in the show. And so I was kind of grappling with that accent as much as I could for the 2 days that I had to build that. Yeah, so that was a quick turnaround for that. And then also, obviously, getting cast 3 days before I need to be on set was also a very quick turnaround. So I had to kind of really compress my research time, because normally I would take like a long time to like make sure that I knew the customs of everything and made sure that I knew all of this stuff and going in like with a book of information. But I really had to kind of just go on instincts, and I had to get the basics down very quickly. And but I continued to kind of learn throughout.
Mhm.
I continued to kind of like, when I would get a new script or like, the new scenes or whatever, I would then kind of like research what I could leading up to that, rather than research everything on a whole before the project started.
Yeah.
That was kind of different, because normally I would research before the project starts and then continue. But yeah, it was a new way of learning. I don't feel like my habits changed. I still feel like I do kind of throw myself head into it, or like head. What is that? Throw myself into it head on. Throw myself into it.
There
Yeah. And so I did do that, but it was more of a continual process rather than a all up front. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely beneficial to have that strong researcher mentality
Yeah.
when you are thrown into something that's so fast paced and quick, and then you say you got the basics, and then just slowly, like as things progress, right along with it.
Yeah. Yeah. Totally. I mean, that's what's great about my job, is that I do get to kind of grow with the characters. Like Lycos introduced me to a lot of things in my life. Do you know what I mean? Like the challenges he was also going through weren't dissimilar to challenges that I was going through. Do you know what I mean? Like finding my way on set, finding, you know, like how do I separate Wayne from Lycos? How do I separate Lycos from, you know, the people that what people have built him up to be versus who he wants to become? Do you know what I mean? Like there was a lot of parallels between him and I. And that's, as I said, the best part of my job is letting those characters inform me, letting those people speak into my life in that moment and spend 4 months with him, creating him, understanding him, you know, and then getting to watch him come alive on screen.
Yeah, what was that like on premiere night? Because I've talked with a few people of various other shows that on premiere night they're just blown away to see themselves on the television screen doing this thing that they never thought would be possible. So what was that like for you?
It was, I mean, I went home with my family in Nova Scotia to watch the premiere. And so it was me as an actor was very like analytical of everything watching it. I really like, there are some actors that really don't like watching themselves. Like I know Johnny Depp like hates watching it himself. But for me, I find it's really, I'm very self-critical. So I like seeing myself and then going, okay, that sucked. Why did this suck? How do I make that better next time?
Yeah.
And again, it's like,
worst critic.
oh, of course, you know, but I think for me, that's what works for me. But then also kind of going like, oh, they chose that cut over that cut. Okay, that's interesting. I understand now why they would have done that. Or like, oh, I remember that direction. That makes sense now on screen because I can see it, you know? That stuff's always really cool for me. I love seeing the translation of like the work and then it being processed and then what the product is, you know? Like that's a really interesting thing for me. So watching it as an actor, I was very like, you know, but my parents are just like totally just like watching it for what it was, which was a TV show, you know, that their son happened to be on. Yeah, so I mean, it's always neat to see the product. I do enjoy that, but it's hard. I mean, it's hard too because you don't really have any control over what the product is. So kind of releasing that kind of, right, okay. You know, does that answer the question? I don't know. That was kind of tough.
No, it totally does.
Okay.
But I kind of feel the same way. Like when I go and like even for the past few years, as I've gone to CDC, like I'd start watching the show, and of course, like from having Rob for so many years, I'd start like analyzing it and like watching people that aren't exactly where the action's going on.
Right. No, totally.
Yeah, so it really like changes your mind from watching it first as a viewer, and then you start to kind of think about the stuff behind it. And then a step further would be you watching it as like actually having done it and seeing how production took it.
Yeah, because I think the difference, I mean, one of the big differences for me between theater and film is that aspect of being able to watch it. You know, like in theater, you kind of just have to trust your internal being and be like, did I nail it? Like, did I hit it that mark correctly? Did I kind of like hit that emotional point where I wanted to? Did I, you know, like kind of night to night, you're growing as a performer because you get to spend more time kind of just in the performance of it and understanding like, okay, I could do that this night. Tonight, this worked. But then tomorrow night, it might not work. And that kind of ephemeral aspect of theater is what's beautiful about it, you know, because you're just reacting to what you have there. But with film, you have to do all of those things sort of. You don't get another stab at it after the day, but then you have to like watch it back. It's just like it's a completely different thing. But it's beautiful in the sense that it is archived and that you can actually, I mean, I hope to, when I'm 50 years old, look back and actually watch my progression grow as a performer. Do you know what I mean? I can't go back and watch my stage plays and see how I grow as a performer. I have to trust my instincts in that sense. But when I can watch myself on film, because it's archived, there's a more kind of there's more goalposts. Do you know what I mean? Like I'd be like, oh, even watching it now, like even though almost a year has gone by, I watch it now and I go, I would have done that differently now.
Yeah.
Not saying that what I did was bad, just like I'm like, oh, okay, interesting, or like, oh, okay, yeah, all right, you know,
Yeah,
that's a cool aspect of it.
for sure. So, since you started, well, actually, no, I'm gonna start. Since you were done with your course at National Theatre School,
Yeah.
before you got like during that time, even that you were in the school, were you doing theater productions on this like aside from your studies?
No. So the school's very strict, and I think it's good to have it as strict as it is about not doing outside work,
Yeah.
because they really want you to kind of just focus on your studies.
Mhm.
We were going like 6 days a week, 12 hours a day on just like theater, which was fantastic. Because again, you spend that kind of like 3 years just dedicating yourself to this practical study of creating, of defining what it is to, you know, what is your art? Who are you as an artist? What are you trying to create? What is your voice going to be when you leave here? You know, and then exposing you to all of these different kinds of artists. So we were working with movement coaches, and we were working with voice coaches, and we were working with directors from all over the world. And, you know, like I've worked with some amazing people that the school brought to my class, and ended up, you know, it was an incredible time. In final year though, we do like a season. So we have 4 shows that are like fully produced, like big set, big stage, like full costumes, like full funding, all that good stuff. And so we basically do 4 professional shows, except we're not being paid, obviously, because it's our schooling.
Right.
And that's an incredible experience to just go through the process of like what it is to get your casting, and then what it is to work with the production team, and like get involved with that and understand like, you know, what the process of building costumes is, and building the set, and like working on the set for the first, you know, all that stuff,
Yeah.
as you've experienced.
Yeah. So you really got like through the entire process from all angles.
Oh, totally. I mean, that's what's great about NTS, the National Theatre School, is that they really try to expose you to as many facets of the performance world as possible. And, you know, the graduates that are coming out of there are extremely well versed in what it is to be a professional.
Yeah. Yeah, that's really good. Yeah, especially considering considering what's going on with the film industry, right, even right here in Nova Scotia.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a shame to hear about what's happening in Nova Scotia with the film industry. You know, but people are working really hard, and I think that our voices are kind of coming together and really making an impact. And I got an email from Mark Alman today, who's like head of Screen Nova Scotia, and he was saying that like they came out of a 4-hour meeting and everything's going really well, and like that our voices are being heard, and that all of the stuff that we're doing is making an impact. You know, it's just whether that impact will actually change the outcome is what we're hoping for. But yeah, it's unfortunate. I mean, the world is in an interesting state. You know,
Yeah.
I don't
Like,
know.
there's so much talent all around, and to have like that talent being told that like you can't support you, that is an incredible shame.
But I mean, at the same time, it's like that's not uncommon. Do you know what I mean? Like
It's true.
with every aspect of art creation, there is someone saying no.
Yes.
You know, unfortunately, what's a shame about Nova Scotia is that we have so many people who have done so much work, who are continuing to feed that environment or that community, and then and then on a massive scale, people are saying no to a massive amount of people and a massive amount of productions. That's what's killing it. You know, like that's what's really upsetting about it. But I mean, like there are artists every day who get, you know, grants declined. there are artists every day who are told like, no, sorry, your art isn't good enough, or like, oh, like we don't have the money to fund this. I think there has to be a selection process. If everybody just got their way, then there wouldn't be the good ones and the bad ones, or the like good ones and the mediocre ones, or there wouldn't be any kind of, there has to be a selection process.
Yeah, and really, like in the film and production industry in itself, like rejection is a big part of that, and it doesn't always have to be negative. It can really help you grow too. I mean, I would assume that you've had your fair share of turn downs in the past.
Yeah, I mean, like speaking about Mr. Lutz, like when I was home in Nova Scotia, I went in and he asked me to speak to some of his drama class.
Oh, nice.
And yeah, which is great. And I always tell the story where, when I was in grade 10 and I went in to my like High School Musical audition, and the actual High School Musical, and and I was so confident, and I thought that I was doing so well, and I went in there with my like leather jacket and my basketball, and like wanted to be Troy Bolton so bad, and then like didn't get the role. I ended up getting like a role without any lines, like when the first like cast call sheet came out, and it was, sorry, I keep burping. That's why I keep.
That's fine. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, and I remember seeing the cast list and being so upset and being like, well, why wasn't I cast higher? I was really good. Like, I thought I did well. And then I go and talk to all of the, Miss Deneau and Mr. Lutz and Mr. Miller and Mr. Thompson and Mr. Graham. And I went and asked them all, like, how I could have improved, because I was really kind of baffled that I didn't. But in my heart of hearts, I knew that I didn't do my best, I know that I knew that I wasn't, I didn't do as good as other people did, but I still went and I asked them for criticism, and Mr. Lutz was really blunt. He was like, you can't dance and you can't sing and you're kind of a good actor. So that casting makes perfect sense in my mind. And everybody kind of said the same thing. And I was so flabbergasted. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to prove you wrong. I'm going to prove you wrong, because I know that I'm better than what you saw. And it was like, over the course of that year, my role moved into a speaking role, and I proved to them that I, thus the creation of James, that character.
Yes.
And then, I took singing lessons. I went and did ballet for a little bit, and I did all those things to kind of like expand it and like really learn about how I could be better and how I could, really impress them the next year. And then following year, I get cast as a bigger role, and then that became this like quintessential role where everybody in Truro knows me as like the clock from Beauty and the Beast, and like it follows me around. Like my mom still gets asked questions about like, oh right, your son was that one who played the clock in Beauty and the Beast, and that was like, God, 7-8 years ago, like
wow.
Yeah, like 2008, I think is what it was, like, and so but I think what that did is that what Mr. Lutz instilled in me, kind of unbeknownst to him maybe, was that fight. Was that like, you know what? No, I'm better than this. I'm going to show you. I'm going to prove that I'm capable of this. And I feel like that follows me throughout my work. So to answer what you were saying before, where it's like I get a lot of no's, or I must get a lot of no's. It's like no's just kind of make me stronger.
Exactly.
No's, as soon as someone goes like, no, I don't think you're good, then it's like, okay, good enough. I'll see you some other time, like it just kind of like builds up my armor. And I think that was going back to Olympus. Like on Olympus, there was a lot of initial resistance, because I was thrown into so much so fast, and there was a lot of expectations on me, because I'm number 6 on the call sheet, and I have a big role to fill, and I have big shoes to fill, and and Nick wanted a lot from me, and for the best reasons. And I think like he really pushed me to really work hard for him, and I thank him for that, because I was very nervous at the start. It was a big thing for me to take on, but I feel like through his encouragement and through his persistence and his pushing and his defined image, I was able to work really hard for him, and ultimately really hard for myself, and kind of build this person that people are responding to really well. You know,
Yeah.
that was kind of a long journey, but I feel like no's are consistent in my life.
Yeah.
No's and being pushed harder it just, I don't know, it makes me better in the end. I don't know.
Yeah. And I can definitely, I mean, it's all life in itself, as well as a career path, is always a learning experience.
Oh yeah.
And I personally, like, I mean, just as I can echo you, like, no's make you stronger. They inform you of what someone's not looking for, and gives you a good path on how you can how you can fix it, so that they are what you're looking for, and you can get better and stronger.
Totally. I think the thing is that some people can be dissuaded by no's, and I think you have to let them be power, because I think some people can be turned off as soon as they get a no. It's like, well, no. And then it's like, well, prove me wrong. Prove me wrong. And I think that's what you have to do. You have to kind of take a no with, I don't know.
Grain of salt.
Yeah, with a grain of salt, but like with confidence, and go, if you truly think that you can do better, then it's like, then come back again tomorrow and show me.
Yeah.
Don't let a no get you down. Don't let a no stop you.
Definitely. And just see it as a building opportunity.
Yeah. But that's having a positive outlook.
Mm-hmm. For sure. Yeah, no, the number of times that I've gone for an audition just even recently,
Yeah.
and I never got the call back. I did have that initial thought of, why didn't I, like, of course I thought I did really good. I kept eye contact, I was really nice, I kept my enunciation, and it is hard when you feel like you've done the best you can do, but then it just, like, it's always given me a drive for, all right, well, the next time I go for something, I'm gonna work on everything. I'm gonna work on one particular aspect and see how it goes the next time.
Totally. And I mean, even the best people who are the best at their particular, thing in life have been told no sometimes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's like, even God, I don't know what, it's like Dustin Hoffman didn't actually like get anything really big until he was like 27. Like, what, John Hamm was like 40 something? What was it? Like, when he booked Mad Men? Do you know what I mean? Like, it's like,
Yeah.
people are consistently, using acting as a reference point, because I'm sure there's lots of people who apply for like internships who get said no to, but like,
Yeah.
I think what we're talking about is this kind of like, I don't know, it's empowering yourself. It's like letting your audition be a chance for you to work, not a chance to get employed. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, it's a chance for you to go in there and like do what you like to do. Or for me, it's like, go in and do what I like to do, which is act, which is like pretend to be a character for a little bit, to kind of like suspend my disbelief in myself. That's what I'm doing in that audition room. It's not for like, oh my God, I need this job. I need this job. I need this job. It's like,
right. It's like discovering an extension of yourself, or just unlocking new abilities.
well, yeah, and having fun. Like, it's an opportunity for some stranger to potentially see you be something brilliant.
Right.
And if they don't think that you're brilliant for the role, oh well, that's just their opinion. Moving on, Like, I've only been doing this for a short time. I guess I'm probably in my like 5th year, I guess, like working professionally.
Mm-hmm.
And like, I've had people who have had faith in me. I mean, Nick Willing took a chance with me. And I worked hard for him. I worked really hard for him.
And it sounds like it's paying off well.
Yeah, I mean, it's paying off in the sense that this show is on a global screen. That's fantastic. Do you know what I mean? It's not like I'll be honest with you, I'm not being pummeled with like role offers now because I'm like on this TV show. Do you know what I mean? Like I'm working as a barback in Toronto. Like I'm babysitting on the weekends to like pay my rent. Like I'm not some like big person now. It was just like it was a wonderful opportunity. It was a wonderful experience. It was one person that had faith in me. Out of everyone that he saw, he thought that I was the best person for that, you know? And so
Mhm.
I got to go and do it. And that's what's fantastic. It's that idea that like someone saw me do my thing, which I get a lot of joy out of doing. And he went, yeah, yeah, okay. And then I got to go and play and do that for 4 months. And then now people are watching it and they're hopefully enjoying it. And that's great. And now I'm moving on to the next project. Now I'm on to the next project, whatever that may be, you know? So it's like it's not getting discouraged and going like, oh, they didn't pick me. It's like, oh well, they're missing out because I'm cool, you know, or like whatever. Just like having
Yeah,
that positive energy about it.
exactly. Yeah. So, what have you been up to since you finished filming for the show?
Well, as I said, I'm like working a bunch of different jobs. I'm involved with a couple theaters here. So Factory Theater, I'm part of a training program. Not so much a training program as much as kind of like a mentorship program. So there's me and a few other emerging artists that Factory Theater kind of chose to take under their wings and kind of foster us. So they're kind of teaching us about play creation and development and kind of like how to create our own work and be in the process of other people creating work. It's a really kind of lucrative and very really insightful project, and I'm honored to be part of that. I'm also on the youth advisory committee for Theatre Ontario, so there's like a provincial kind of oversee of all the youth in Ontario, and so me and a few other people are kind of like organizing certain events to integrate youth into theatre here in Toronto and Ontario. Doing
Okay.
those things. I'm applying to a bunch of different like programs and grants and stuff. When I was home. I had a meeting with the Marigold Center about a show that I'm writing, and I'm going to produce. And then I wanted to bring it back to Churro and put it on in January. So I'm going to do that. Working on writing that right now and compiling some artists together to help me produce that. Yeah, just kind of like little odds and ends here. I mean, I'm auditioning regularly, which is great, and I have a fantastic agent who we have a great relationship, and so that's kind of all on the move. Like that, I don't really have control over that. I just go out when she asks me to go out, and I do my best, and then I like focus on my own self. You know?
That's really awesome.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. I had that. Sorry, you said you were coming back, working on a play for next coming January.
Yeah, so January 2016 is when I've tentatively set the dates with the Marigold Center. So the show that I performed the show in Halifax, Nova Scotia, I guess 2 years ago. Yeah, 2 years ago, to a solo audience there, which was great at the Solo Wishes Festival. It's a solo piece, so it's just me. And then so this summer I started to kind of like rework on it, and so I've been like kind of slowly working on it, and I'm applying for some grants to kind of get some funding for like more creation development of the piece. And what I wanted to do is, as I said, I wanted to bring it back to Truro in January, and then kind of like go to different kind of venues throughout. So like I want to take it to New York, and I want to take it to, I mean, I don't know if I'll get into these places, but like I'm going to, yeah, I'm going to try to sell the show just kind of like at a grassroots level to try to see if I can do that. I'm just interested in seeing whether I can self-produce and then like perform. You know, that's kind of the exploration that I'm working on right now. Yeah.
Well, sounds like a pretty fantastic journey for right now.
Yeah, I mean, all it is right now is just me writing on my computer and dreaming. Nothing cemented has come of it yet, but it's in process.
Yeah, no one knows what lies on the horizon.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I know. Lenore's actually been talking with a few of the kids from the Shakespeare play last year, and she's thinking about doing Hamlet this coming summer.
Oh, okay, great.
Yeah, so I'm thinking.
No, Romeo and Juliet last summer, right?
Um, Yes, we did Romeo and Juliet last summer, and then before that was A Midsummer Night's Dream.
Right. Yeah.
So I'm thinking I'm really gonna take a look at a script for Hamlet and really dedicate myself to coming up with a really good audition piece this year.
Yeah. I mean, it's always good to have kind of like, I would invest in a Riverside Shakespeare and just like have that puppy around. Like, you never know when you're going to need something Shakespeare. And I mean, he's awesome. Like, I was very resistant to Shakespeare at the start of theater school. And then by the end of it, I was just like, this dude's awesome. Like, this dude's awesome. Like, just like, yeah, getting to work on his stuff. Like, I've had a few like auditions and like I've done some workshops and stuff. And it's really, really wonderful. Like, the idea that that Shakespeare is still relevant. That
Yeah.
although the speech is a little bit, heightened,
David.
it's still relevant. It's still dealing with the same problems. It's like Olympus. It's like anything like that, Like, it's from a different time, but people are still people, and they're still dealing with the same things. They're still dealing with love. They're still dealing with loss. They're still dealing with conspiracy and politics, and all of those things. So definitely go back. Definitely like read some Hamlet. Watch some like great people do it. Like, not Mel Gibson, but like there's some great people that have done. Watch British versions. Like, I was during the filming of Olympus, I watched Hollow Crown, which it was with, oh my gosh, Jeremy Irons is in it, and I forget the name of it now. Anyway, it was fantastic. Like, because all through school they were like the Henrys and are like the slowest moving Shakespeares. Like, they're so boring, blah blah blah. But then when I watched it, because they adapt it to film, so they do the entire text on film, and it was just captivating. Like, they were so good. Like, it was so good, and I was like, why isn't this produced more? Yeah. So go back, spend some time with William. He's great.
Yeah. Definitely, I think I'll enjoy that. Even going through English class in high school, every year we would do a Shakespeare play, and everyone else was grown. Oh, why do we have to do this? I was stoked every single year.
Yeah. Who did you have?
Um, two out of the 3 years, I had Miss McKay.
Okay, cool. Did you get Thompson or like Miss Campbell?
No, I didn't have Thompson at all, or Mr. McKay. It
Oh,
was Miss McKay, and for grade 11, I had one of the other English teachers, but I forget her name now.
okay.
I don't think we did Shakespeare that year, though.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thompson loved Shakespeare.
Oh, yeah. I could tell he loved Shakespeare when he got pulled on stage during the Shakespeare on Trial presentation by Julie Webb.
Yeah, he would. That's cool.
Just so see the thing I love about Shakespeare,
Yeah.
aside from the fact that it's still relevant today, is that the people who really enjoy it throw everything they have into it.
Oh yeah. I mean, I wouldn't know if I don't think that I'm strictly Shakespeare, but there are people who are just like they only do Shakespeare, and like
Yeah.
they love it. But like I feel like I'm at such a beginning stage in my career where it's like I'm kind of just trying to dabble in anything and everything that kind of like piques my interest. So, I have a lot of people that kind of ask me like, oh, so you must be like really into film now because you did this TV show. And I'm like, well, it was a great character, like Lycos is an awesome character. And so whether Olympus was a play or a movie or a TV show or a radio play or whatever, the fact that the character was interesting to me is why I chose to do the project. It didn't matter what medium it was a part of, And
Yeah.
so, but there are some people that are just like only TV, only film, only Shakespeare, only dance, only ballet. You know what I mean? Like, so.
I think they can get really good at the one thing, and they may possibly be able to get a lot of employment out of that. But at the same time, it kind of restricts them a little bit. Like,
Yeah,
you think?
yeah, I think that can be said about life. Do you know what I mean? Like, if you're
Yeah.
only lawyer, or if you're only an accountant and all you do is obsess over accounting and you don't learn the world, yeah, you know, like, then yeah, you're gonna have like a very narrow view of what things can offer you. You know what I mean? Like, I think any profession, you have to know what that profession affects, and you have to understand how it affects that. You know, like, I'm an actor, and I can do all of these things, but I also need to be exposed to all of those things to know how I can benefit each of those things. And maybe I am better off at theater than I am film, or TV than I am, you know, radio. But it's like, if I don't expose myself to those, then how will I know?
Exactly.
You know?
Like, get your feet wet in different types of water so you get a better feel of which one suits you best.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I've certainly been trying that every now and then. So, I mean, that works for anybody. I mean, like, if you guys want to try as like any number of things to find out what that one niche is that you really rock with,
Yeah.
go for it.
Yeah.
I mean, what's stopping you, really?
Exactly. I mean, my friends and I have these kind of conversations all the time about, like, you know, like, because I have some friends that are really trying to rack their brains right now about like where they are in their life and what they want to do. And, you know, I think it is a big question of humanity. Like, what is your purpose? What are you here to do? What are you trying to, you know, what makes you happiest? Or can you be employed doing what makes you happiest? You know, those kind of concepts. And I think we live in such a privileged world, especially in North America, where we can literally do anything we want and probably get paid for it. Yeah, there's competition. Like, yeah, there's going to be people who are like, you know, are better at it than others. But like, you just have to really kind of expose yourself to all fronts, you know? Like, if you have an interest in computers, and it's like, what are all the avenues of computers that, you know, you could possibly also find interest in? You know, like, being specific about what it is that you actually like about computers. You know, is it just the animation portion? Is it just like the notation portion? Do you know what I mean? Like, there's lots of facets, and so I think the more you expose yourself to, the more well versed of a person you're going to be, but the more specific you can be about your job, and the more happier you'll probably end up being. You know, because of that specificity.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
No, it makes perfect sense.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm right there with you.
Yeah. So,
yeah.
I don't know. I think just 1 second, because there's someone on Twitter who's following along with our conversation, and she keeps tweeting me.
Oh, okay.
I think we should do a shout out.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. Her handle is Sci-Fi Chick, so I just wanted to like give a little woo to Sci-Fi Chick.
Sci-Fi Chick.
I think she retweeted.
Yeah. Oh, might be. Yeah.
She retweeted your initial tweet.
Oh yeah, I see her here. Oh, I like that. I march to the beat of my own drummer. Life is more fun that way.
Yeah.
I like your style, Sci-Fi Chick.
Yeah, she's been a big supporter of the show, so I'm glad that she's following along.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, we're just about out of time, but thank you so much, Wayne, for coming on.
Oh yeah, of course, man. Anytime.
Yeah, it's been well. First of all, it's been great seeing you again.
Yeah, you too, man.
Long.
So long.
So where can you said you're on Twitter?
Yeah, so I'm on Twitter at symbol Wayne_Burns. And you can also follow along on my Facebook page, which is just Wayne Burns. And yeah, I'm all over the social medias if you want to connect with me in that way. But yeah.
Cool. I will put I'll put links, Wayne. I will put Wayne's links down in the description below, so you can go check him out, follow him, and show him that you are supporting him on Olympus, Sci-Fi's Olympus, which is when does it air again? Thursday nights?
Yeah, so in the UK on Spike UK TV, it is or Spike TV in the UK. Sorry, it's airing Wednesdays at 10 p.m. Right before Breaking Bad, and then in North America it plays at 10/9 Central on Sci-Fi in the States and Super Channel in Canada.
Okay.
And if you're going to kind of tweet about it or anything, post anything on Facebook, use the hashtag symbol Olympus TV.
Olympus TV. All right. So use that on Twitter, Google Plus, if anyone actually uses that much now. I swear, the only reason I use Google Plus is to reply to my YouTube comments.
Right.
I think I've maybe posted in a community maybe 4 times.
I definitely use it for the same purposes, so you're not alone.
I still don't know they exist at the time. And on that note, we're going to take off. Thank you all for watching, and Nerd Chat Central will hopefully be back again next Friday. So until then, take care.